Hello everybody, and in today's video we are going to be breaking down the technique of Lauren Henry, who just won the European Rowing Championships. She also set a European best time. I'll be breaking down what I think she does well and how she managed to set such fast times and be so competitive, being a newer single sculler in the scene. And yeah, just technically one of the best scullers I've seen recently. So excited to break this down for you. And as always, hopefully in a way that you can understand it and bring what she does well into your rowing so that you can go faster. And interesting, there's a few things about her technique that I think a lot of people really do get wrong. And again, obviously want to break that down and also go into some of her, from what I've heard, her mindset and her approach to training and racing in general. So getting to the point, for those that are new here, my name's Jack Burns. I'm the founder of Edge Rowing, where we work with busy professionals over the age of 40, getting them rowing to the best versions of themselves. It's still early over here. It's not even 8 a.m. So anyways, for Lauren's technique, I mean, obviously just looking at it, the whole thing looks very effortless, smooth, connected. There's very little movement. When we talk about good rowing all the time, it's just about not doing any extra unnecessary movement that than you need to. And yeah, looking at it, when you look at rowers just making it look effortless, a lot of that time that is because they're so still and they're so loose. There's no extra movement at the finish or at the catch. So just generally it's something that comes through being strong, through having the right technique, but also just reps and reps and reps and doing lots of mileage. So the first thing, like for me, what stands out the most about Lauren is her catch and her drive. But before you get to that, it's like getting ready for an exam. You know, you have to prepare for that. And the easiest place that you can focus to get your catch and your leg drive better is your recovery. It's so controllable. You know, it's easier to influence what you're doing. You're not trying to work. So a couple things. And again, I talk about this all the time, but just first off, a nice clean blade extraction, even though there's friggin' things in the way. Hold on, I'll find another bit where hopefully you can see. Sorry about this. I should have prepared a little bit better. Bear with me here. Leave the video. Anyways, okay, here we go. Super clean blade extraction. One of the easiest things you can do to get speed when we coach people, this is the first thing that we look at. Take the blade out square, then turn it feathered. You get clean, you get good balance, you get good boat run. Lauren does this nicely. And then, as she approaches the front, really good squaring of the blade early. So this just allows her to be still for a moment. You can see here, okay, she's kind of at half, 3/4 slide. The blades have popped square. You want this moment where you can basically be rocked over, be ready for the catch, be loose, be on the foot plate, have your blades squared so that you can just take a moment to be super, super still as you approach the catch. And a lot of the time people will leave this far too late. They'll be reached out of the catch and then they'll look at squaring their blade, and they're sending all this kind of like energy into their arms because they have to square their blade. And as a result, they miss a bit of the catch, but they also take more load in their upper body. So those are the kind of first couple things that you can do and bring into your stroke. Take the blade out square, and also sequencing and rocking over as well. So again, you can see another thing here. I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, but once she's at kind of half slide, the body is rocked over and prepared for the catch as well. So just generally very good fundamentals done very, very well. So when we look at the catch and what she actually does, now this is a point I want to get to about how a lot of the time things get lost in translation with rowing technique, and people think drive your legs first, which is of course what you want to do, but sometimes they go too far in the opposite way, and their legs go all the way down and the handle doesn't actually move and they get a bit of a bum shove. But more common than that is when people think about a fast catch and they think about getting the blades in quick and being quick and powerful out of the front, and they rush the catch, they miss connection, and they end up kicking the stern and not sending the boat in the right direction. So when we talk about the catch and a quick catch, what we talk about is the timing of, if you think about, like, imagine this is the point in the water that you want to put your blade in. If we think about a normal catch, okay, you approach it like this, and then when you're at full slide, you lift the blade like that. And normally what people do is they think, right, I'm going to go for a quick catch. So they rush up to the catch, they go quick to the catch, and then they hang around for a second, and then they go quick in. And they end up actually hanging around for a second here and then rushing that part. And actually what you want, it's kind of the opposite of that when you're trying to get a quick catch. It's the speed, the quickness comes from the timing of you're controlled and slow here relatively. And as soon as you reach the point at which you want to lift, you're lifting the blade. That is a quick catch. Quick is about being, I'm at the catch, lift the blade. And another way you can think about it is someone's trying to get a photo of you from the bank, of you at full slide at the catch with your blades out of the water. It's just that timing of there. And the actual approach to the catch is relatively slow. And the actual lift of the blade going into the water is relatively slow, but it's that timing of there where your blade's disappearing. So, and as we move back to here, again, something that just Lauren does really, really well, and all the best single scullers, if you ask me, do really, really, really nicely. You can see there just timing it super, super well. From there, what she also does is you'll notice that even at 35 strokes per minute, she gets a bit of lift and she's still waiting. She's waiting for connection before she pushes. We should get a good shot here of the blade. You can see there. I know this footage isn't actually the highest of resolution, but you can see a slight air pocket forming there. And to break this down, if we imagine Lauren was sat at the catch here at full slide, the motion that you want to do with your hands while the boat was still, okay, so right, the boat is still right now, okay? She would lift her hands straight up in the air and the blade would go straight down into the water, and you wouldn't have backsplash on the front and you wouldn't have backsplash on the back. Now, when we think about the boat moving kind of, I don't even know why I'm doing this, moving, there we go. When you've got water running underneath the boat and you do this same straight lift with the hands, you get backsplash forming on the back of the spoon, okay? Which means you also get an air pocket forming on the front of the spoon. So you've effectively not got any connection here when you are putting the blade and when you're placing it in. Now, some other coaches, some other countries, the Australian men's four, when I had Drew Ginnin as an example of this, they row the blade in and they bring the blade in with the direction of the water. They don't get backsplash. If you ask me, it's not the best way to do it, but obviously they were a pretty good crew. But anyways, to my point here, Lauren has an air pocket forming on the front of the spoon. And if she immediately drove backwards, she would drive onto that air pocket, and it would almost be the same as driving with her spoon outside of the water, outside on top of the water. It would almost be the same as her driving like that with no connection. So what you need to do is wait. Okay, you need to wait for this air pocket to fill back up so that you get the blade locked onto the front of the spoon. Now, when you do this, I'm going to try and be quick with the thumb here. I can't. Okay, that's good enough. Once you get this blade locked in, imagine that, it's like someone's kind of grabbed that spoon, and when you do this properly, when you get locked in and you're at full slide, because the boat is moving in that way, you literally have no other option but to drive. So when you do this well, you get a really, really nice feeling of connection, and you just get this really easy, like, press, connection, and then you've got, because you're locked in, you've got no other option but to stand out of it. And it's just a really, really good feeling. And Lauren's doing this. Is another impressive thing about her technique, is she does this for the whole race. She does this off the start, and she does this all the way through to the finish. So just generally a really, really nice, and that's what the commentators were talking about, how patient she was at the front. And this is because she's placing, waiting for the air pocket to fill, and then drive. From there, it just sets up a really, really nice, we get a good angle of it here, a really nice patient leg drive where she does, and she's also relatively short for a rower. She's 5'7" for a single sculler, which is just, I think we're seeing it more and more, and the kind of narrative is being broken by people like Lauren, showing that you don't need to be, for women, you don't need to be 5'11", 6 foot. For men, you don't need to be 6'6", 6'8". A really, really nice, and you can see that again, she gets a good, oar bend early on when she's super compressed, leaves this alone. And okay, another point is she is loose in the shoulders as she drives with the legs, and when you tense up, that often gets in the way of you pushing well. But just really, really, really separated here, and kind of about, legs just past half slide, she starts to open the back, and really taking her time to hang on it and open and press. And you can see, okay, another mistake people will make. There's probably a better angle that we could use here. So again, this is her in the last 250 and still rowing with this technique. Another mistake that people will make is they drive, legs. Okay, they get to this point in the stroke, the legs are nearly down, and they think, okay, I'm just going to tug with the back and pull with the arms, and they forget to push through the feet the whole way. And this is something Lauren does here. You can see she's suspending through the feet, through the lats, through the arms, into the oar, and really nicely connecting and pushing the force horizontally in that direction. Pressed all the way. I'm not going to be able to see even here. Now, another important thing, especially in single sculls, if you think about when you are, sorry for all these pauses as I find the right frame, but there's no other way for me to do this. Basically, when you're kind of at this point in the stroke, if you do this right, all of your weight is suspended out of the boat. So what do we mean when we say suspended? It means you don't have any of your weight sat on the seat, and you are literally just hanging. Like, it's almost as if you could be rowing right now and there wasn't, like, this part of the boat had disappeared, and you were just pressing through the feet, hanging through the skeleton, and like your weight was kind of getting lifted off of the seat. And the more of your weight you have suspended, the more force you're applying. So during the middle of the stroke is the point when you apply the most force, and that's when you also have the most amount of your weight suspended. So when you have your weight suspended, the boat lifts out of the water. That's what you see, like good crews and powerful crews, is the boat you can see these lines, on the boat that they lift out of the water. But as you come through the finish, as you come through here, because you're extended and you're not using your legs and you've got more speed now as well, it's harder for you to be suspended. It's harder for you to be connected. You're going into the weaker parts of your body, like your arms, and you're hanging. So naturally, more of your weight drops down onto the seat. You're applying less force, less of your weight is suspended, your weight starts to drop back down into the boat. And you'll notice that the boat starts to gradually drop down. And again, to my point, this is something that Lauren does really well. You can see that line is high. There's a good gap in between here. She's suspended the whole way. But the mistake, to my point here, the mistake that people will make is they get to this point with the arms and they stop pushing through the feet, they stop suspending their weight, and they go from being They go from being fully suspended here, where the boat's all the way out of the water, to then just going, okay, legs are done, and they lose that connection, okay, and the boat drops down, and that's what you get, these hulls that just kind of travel like that, and then boom, you drop them, and it's that motion of the boat going up and down through the water that creates extra water resistance on the hull, and it also just feels like shit. You see really good crews, it just looks like there's an engine in the hull, and they just run flat like that, and it's something you can see here just by looking at how well that line is out of the water the whole time. Suspended, 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 suspended. She almost looks like she gets more suspension through the finish, which is crazy. But then you want to think about, as you draw the arms, that you're applying less force, you're being less suspended, but you're kind of like returning the boat to the water gently, rather than just losing connection entirely and letting the boat go and poof, getting that drop in. So again, something Lauren does here, and again, let's remember it's like the last 100 meters of the race. Here's just a nice patient press all the way through the finish. Again, nice clean blade extraction, nice simple preparing early, waiting, and then pushing. I mean, another way you can look at this, I'm jumping around here a lot, but she's at full side here. Her blades are in there, and she's lost barely any length. You know, normally what happens is people have to drive back a little bit before they get their hands connected. And here she's just super compressed, blades are connected, and then she drives. So yeah, really cool. I'm excited we're already kind of referencing her technique for the people we're coaching. And yeah, excited to see her kind of compete on the international scene. Some other things about stories I've heard about her. When they do World Cups, they'll come back from training or from the World Cup. Everybody have a day off, and she'll go down to Caversham, which is the GB Center, and do a 2K just to see where she's at. Like, she'll choose to do 2K, she choose to do more training. I read an article as well just about what she thinks she does well, and she talks about how she just mentally and physically has a very high tolerance for training load. So she just trains a lot, works hard, rows well, and loves training. So a lot of lessons in there. Hopefully that was useful. If you found it useful, like the video, comment if you have any questions, or if there's any other scullers or crews that you want me to review. Cheers!